Welcome back to the show. I don't know how many of you have seen this Shawn Ryan interview with the disgraced security guard that worked for Charlie Kirk that day, but this interview just it made me upset. I mean, it pissed me off to the point where I have to control my outburst. See, I'm from Los Angeles. I grew up around gang culture. One of the things you learn when you're growing up in that environment is you listen to every word that someone says. Because when you're in the culture, if you're in the streets, when someone walks up to you, it's not like they just have a sign on it tells you they're from a gang or where they're from. The only way you can know who this person is and if they get along with you guys or where they're from is you can listen to whatever words they're saying, but not just what they say, how they say the words they preface it with and how they end it, little small monikers. After listening to this man speak about censoring Americans and how he talks about Erika Kirk, and then you'll hear he takes some shots at fucking Donald Trump. What the fuck does he have to do with this? A lot of people don't understand this, but there's two worlds that we live in the United States right now. There's two. And we're literally they're literally fighting for which one's going to be the dominant culture. The existing culture that we've been living on is the constitutional republic, which is what we are, for which we stand. This other world that is full of disgruntled Black people, the gay community, and all of the immigrants that have been coming in to subvert the country, they live in what they call the multicultural democracy. So when they keep talking about, oh, this person's a threat to our democracy, and the rest of us are like, what democracy? We're a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy. We've never been a mob rule society. But that's the incoming group, and that's what they want this country to be. I think now Charlie was obviously a constitutional Republican. I think all these people around Charlie, these Zionists, these security guards, I think they are multicultural democracy people, and that's why they feel no type of way about what happened to Charlie, and they're going to do what they can to excuse themselves and blame it on others. So this is a snippet from the Shawn Ryan podcast that I wanted to play, and I want you guys to hear it and give me your thoughts.
I've done a lot of death notifications where I had to tell kids that their parents were dead or their parents that their kids were dead, and I know what pain looks and sounds like. I wake up screaming sometimes, thinking of kids' faces. The words that came out of her mouth and how they came out when she walked in that room and saw him, you don't want to hear that. She's a victim. That's her husband. And now people without any proof are saying that she was a part of killing him. Come on, man. And then not having anything to substantiate it with.
Where the fuck do you live, sir? Do you know the trial for who killed Charlie Kirk hasn't even begun? Who the fuck are you to say she's a victim? How do you know? What evidence do you have that she wasn't involved? How many times have we seen cases play out in the media where years later they find out the husband did kill his wife? Or they find out years later, actually, it was the wife that murder for hire, poison, set up some kind of accident and made it look like it was suicide, but really it was murder, and she plotted on him because there was a $3, $4, $5 million insurance payout. You mean to tell me you don't remember any? You've never heard of that happening? So because she's a good actor, you never heard of an actress? Matter of fact, what do you know, Mr. Security Guard, about Erika Kirk? She was never the star. You weren't her personal security. She never really needed the security, so she didn't really need you. So what do you know about her? What do you know about the Romanian angels? Where was she before she met Charlie? You know, you sound very confident for a man that doesn't know shit about her. We really don't know shit about her. But everything we're finding out about her is fucking weird. Her parents work for Israel. She was involved in this orphanage that was accused of trafficking children, where military members of the United States military went to prison. Organization shut down in Romania called the Romanian Angels. I bet you didn't look that up before you want to sit here and call her a victim. You know, that's the thing. You don't put accusations on people if you don't have paperwork on them. But you also can't exonerate somebody until the case is over. We don't even know everything that happened. Tyler's going to walk. There's no footage of him doing anything to anyone. They're not going to be able to prove it. They lost the footage of him even turning himself in. Did you know that? They did a FOIA request to the sheriff's department where he turned himself in 2 days later with his parents and a friend of their lawyer. When they did the FOIA request, the sheriff's department said, oh, it's been over 30 days. We no longer have the footage. They said, okay, what about the surveillance videos of his family arriving in the parking lot and just walking into the station? Magically, that's gone too. Also, all the records of someone named Lance Twiggs, his roommate, gone. Nothing, scrubbed. Everything's off the internet. You can't find anything about him. And he's been missing going on 8 weeks now, 2 months. But this guy wants to sit here and tell me that she wasn't involved, but there's just as much evidence that she isn't involved, that she is. See, with a lot of convictions in the United States, when it comes to a murder case, a majority of them hold on just motive alone. There's not always a smoking gun in your hand and a picture of you going pow, pow. It's not how it works in a real life. In a real life, most evidence is circumstantial. Who gained from your demise? Motive. Is there a lot of motive for Israel? Absolutely. Powerful. But we still don't know who sent Erika to Charlie in the first place. A girl that vacations in the Hamptons and was an international supermodel, but also opened up a orphanage nonprofit in Romania, but you're an American. Weird. And then magically you show up to Turning Point USA looking for an internship. And then you're some hot model in the nerdy, smart Charlie Kirk takes a liking to you and texts you a week later, and you're in the Hamptons and you respond. That's a big trip from Arizona to the Hamptons. It's not like just, it's not like going to Flagstaff from Phoenix, right? But you're sitting up here and you're vouching for a woman you don't know. Like somebody told you to say this. Like somebody told you to repeat this. Like you know what to say. Not because you believe it, but because you're good at following instructions. I mean, you're a soldier, right? You follow your orders, right?
That's what makes me lose faith in people, and that we allow it, and that platforms.
What the fuck do you mean we allow it? Who are you? You don't allow a goddamn thing, and who is we? We don't allow a goddamn thing. This is the United States of America. We are a constitutional republic. Do you know what constitutional means? It means we have something called the First Amendment and the Second Amendment in case someone tramples on the first one. You aren't allowing a goddamn thing, and neither are these platforms. How is Shawn Ryan, who's an alleged patriot, going to sit here and not push back on this imbecile who's literally making a case that we should censor Americans and not allow them to say what they want to say because we want to protect the feelings of Miss Erika Kirk? But you're not worried about anyone else's feelings. This is what I mean. The people that are living amongst us that believe in this multicultural democracy, they are anti-constitutionalists. You have to read between the lines of what these people are saying. They look like you and me, but they're not like us. They're different. They live in a different world. They want a different outcome. They do not want to live the way we live currently. This is an adult man in America. He's white. And here he is basically talking about, oh, well, we see a woman crying. Maybe we should tear up the Constitution. Could you believe someone who looks like him? And then Shawn Ryan isn't saying anything to rebut him and say, well, it's a good idea to question things. We've seen a lot of conspiracies come true. Censoring Americans is not the answer. We need free speech, and speech must be protected. Actually, the First Amendment is not to protect speech that people like and people feel good about. The First Amendment is to protect speech that people find abhorrent, like the speech you find about questioning Erika's involvement is abhorrent. That's what the First Amendment is to protect, not the good stuff that people want to hear. As a conservative and as a man that's a constitution that wanted to protect the Constitution, served in the military, you would have assumed that would have been his immediate rebuttal. But it wasn't.
Allow it. It's like it goes against everything that we are. And if we're going to allow that, what else are we going to allow? You hear that kind of pain coming from somebody and see it. And I could only imagine the pain she's feeling now by happening to hear that people say that she was a part of it. Those are lies.
How do you know? How do you know they're lies? He just died barely 2 months ago. There's been no trial. There's been no deposition. There's been no discovery. There's no evidence besides what us amateur journalists are bringing up. Do you think this was on Fox or CNN that all the footage of Tyler Robinson even turning himself in that day have just magically disappeared and gone missing? Evidence gone. Footage of him walking into the station, footage of him talking with the detectives, all of it gone. Gone. So it's going to be hard to mount a defense, but it's also easy to defend yourself when there's nothing to defend yourself against. There's no footage of him taking the shot. There's no footage of him breaking down a weapon. There's no footage of him touching a screwdriver. There's no footage of any of it. There's no debris from ammunition. There's no, because when you fire a weapon, the gunpowder gets on you. They did a ballistics. There's nothing. There's nothing. And you think that a jury of 12 is going to convict him based on nothing? That's not how this works. And you're going to sit up here and say, those are lies. You don't know her. You don't know her life. You don't know her world. What makes you so confident that you're willing to bet what? That she had nothing. You don't even know the evidence. The trial hasn't even started. You don't know who's involved. They can say some guy named Rico Bobby in Arizona, he's involved. Some guy that wears a red hat and make videos. You don't know. They can say Trump's in, but you don't know. So why are you sitting here so confident? And then to suggest that we get rid of the First Amendment to mitigate the pain from one woman. What are you talking about? This goes against no, it doesn't. This is exactly who we are. This is who we're supposed to be. We're the last of our kind. The United States is a light in the pillar in a room of darkness. There are no more constitutions that protect people's speech or rights to defend themselves. And we're losing that in the U.S. My next story is about a man who defended himself against a robber in New York, and they want to send him to prison. Those were things that were paramount that made us. We're losing those, and you're not crying about that, but you want to cry about Erika Kirk. Would you got a crush on her? You think she's cute? You like her blonde hair? You think she's pretty? So, of course, somebody with blonde hair that's beautiful like that, there's no way was anything to do with what happened to her husband. Not saying she pulled the trigger, but could she have been talking to people about his plans? Could she have tried to dissuade him from going against the Zionists? And when she was the one to make the final call to say there is no changing his mind, you know, that's his wife, that's his confidant. But Charlie's a smart man. Did he maybe start finding out about what the Romanian Angels nonprofit used to do in Romania? And did he question her? Did she find out about it? Well, you know, if you watch my prior videos, I connected her to the Truman Show. He was Truman, and they wrote him out. From all accounts, they're trying to replace him with J.D. Vance. There's a hostile takeover going on in TPUSA. Erika doesn't care. She's been reassigned. Why do you think the infighting's going on at TPUSA? And Erika's not involved. She's already been reassigned. Her next assignment is to become the first lady. Erika Kirk WAS. And this guy, some no-name security guard, talking about how, oh man, we're going to lose our careers. You should. The man you were hired to protect died. How good of a security guard are you? Who's going to hire you? Well, what happened to your last client? Yeah, he didn't make it. What the fuck? Wait, then what? You know, it's easy to be somebody's paid security when there's no threats on his life, or no one's trying to take his life. But if you can't even, how many assassination attempts on Charlie were there that you thwarted? 0. Except in the one time there was an attempt on his life, he lost his life. That means you're not even worth your weight in salt as a guard. But now you want to sit up here and pretend that you're not just a security guard, but you're also a part-time psychic, and you use telepathy to read the mind of Erika Kirk WAS and was able to discern that she had no idea what was going to happen. No one's saying she took a knife or a gun and went and did nothing to Charlie Kirk. What we're saying is that she could have been a plant. She could have been his handler, and she could have known what was coming so that she could prepare for it. No one's saying she did it herself. We're saying that there's no way to say she wasn't involved or that she didn't know. Now we're finding out the surveillance from this Egyptian military plane wasn't necessarily following Charlie, it was following her. But if what we're thinking is correct, that would make sense because she's the asset. And that would also make sense for why she's going at J.D. Vance now and why she will be Erika Kirk WAS one day. Well, then that means what I'm saying is correct. That means that we're right about this. Convincing me that some autistic young dude who was allegedly humping another boy who was a furry, but there's no, I mean, come on, what kind of 20-something-year-old doesn't have thousands of hours of TikTok and Instagram video of them just hanging out, talking to their friends? You can't even find these guys on the internet. You can't even find them, and definitely not speaking. They don't want you to hear that he's autistic. They don't want you to figure that out. So when you're trying to convince me that an autistic kid magically became Mark Wahlberg in the movie Shooter, and there was just a windfall of bad luck for Charlie, but good luck for Tyler. The cameras were turned off magically, and there was a miscommunication between this guard right here and the security at UVU. Security at UVU said, "I got you." When the guard said, "Hey, can I put one of my guys? Can you make it access only, or I'm gonna put one of my guys on the roof?" He said, "I got you. Handle your business. Do what you got to do." But no one was on the roof. There was no spotters. It's like all these things that just went wrong for Charlie, but just magically went right perfectly for this Mark Wahlberg autistic gay cutout named Tyler Robinson. And we're just supposed to think, you know what? Wow, what an unusual turn of events. I'm looking at that surveillance footage. It doesn't even seem like that footage is from the same day that this happened. You know, that's what pisses me off, is because I don't like people telling me what to think, Show me the evidence and let me decide for myself. But every time I look up, there's somebody trying to play with my heartstrings and trick me into believing what they want me to believe. I don't believe you. I don't trust you. I will look at everything and decide for myself. And what I've decided is that this is all bullshit and nonsense, and we're not buying it. We're going to keep digging. We will find out the truth.
And so we have that organization. It's got this huge power vacuum going on now, and I'm sure it's affecting it. It's affected me. And so that's an organization with a lot of great people in it doing good things.
What good people? What good things are they doing? I know Charlie. I know what he does. I think he's doing great things. Who are the others? What do they do that's so great? Charlie goes around to different universities, and they basically do data harvesting of young students, where we talk to them and convince them that they shouldn't be gay, and they should be traditional. They should love life. They should love God. They should love their country. But we get their emails and their phone numbers, and we put them into a database, and we invite them to different events, primarily evangelicals. We go around the different campuses, and we argue with liberals who are on the wrong track. Charlie was a one-man army. I never seen him with anyone besides Candace Owens on stage. And, there was another blonde girl. I seen her. I believe she was an athlete. I've seen them do these Ask Me Anything type. I've seen them do those events together. Who are these other people? Their board of directors. What's so great about them? I know they're being paid so that their credentials can be on record as this is the board. That's how these nonprofits work. So what are they doing? Right now, nothing. Figuring out clever ways to siphon over the money. Remember, Charlie was the golden egg. And they cracked the egg, and now they want to slice up the yolk and get their portion of it. And they're all fighting over who's going to take control over it. But hey, at least he didn't completely turn his evangelical following against Israel. At least they kept that intact. But no, my friend, you can't even tell us what's so good about that organization or what they do. Everything was always only Charlie and Candace. Charlie and Candace built TPUSA. I don't want to hear about Josh Hammer and these other no-name, unnamed nobodies that are all of a sudden, since Charlie's died, are popping up on news stations in Australia and doing, short segments. Since when? Get the hell out of here.
And so where do we draw the line to people making allegations of bad behavior?
You don't get to draw the line. I can allege any goddamn thing I want to. That's called speech. What you're supposed to do is have a counter speech that can prove me wrong. You're supposed to be able to counter my speech with evidence to prove that what I'm saying is incorrect. You don't get just to assert yourself. You are not a king. You're not a god. But see, when you're a multicultural democracy, it's the majority rules. Well, if 51% of the country says we burn down the other half of the country and 49% say we don't, well, the majority wins. Guess who's about to burn? Salem witch trials was democracy. How'd those turn out? And this is a grown man. You think he doesn't understand how this country works, how our society works? He's envisioning a brave new world, a whole new different society, a multicultural democracy. He doesn't believe in this constitutional republic. That's why when they planned to do this to Charlie, whether he was involved or not, when he found out about it, he said nothing, because he couldn't stand the fact that Charlie was a constitutional Republican from the old world that they're trying to subvert. that they want to change. These people look normal. Do you know how many of them are MAPs and you just never knew they were minor attracted persons? They look normal. They have to pay bills. They have to function. They have to eat. They have to have a house. But there's another world. There's a secret side to them that's in the closet and they want to come out. When Biden was in office, these people started poking their heads up. They felt a little bit emboldened. Kamala emboldened them into embracing it. California passed a bill, SB 145, that decriminalized being caught with an underage kid. If you are gay and the kid says he's gay too, you don't got to register as a sex offender. That's progress for the multicultural democracy. We don't know if he's one of them. Then somebody like Charlie and Trump talking about how that's horrible and disgusting and no, we're not going to ever decriminalize pedophilia. Well, that would put us on two separate sides of a war. So that means Charlie would have had his enemies pretending to be security all around him. I'm doing the math. I can actually sit here and explain this to you in detail. That's what makes someone like me a problem. That's what makes Nick Fuentes a threat. That's what makes Candace Owens a nuclear missile of information and truth. Saying something about somebody is one thing. Being able to clearly articulate it in English and explain it to different groups of people in different ways, that's another. I'm noticing there's less and less people like me, like us, that have the ability to do so. So we're here. He can say these things, but you see, he's not going into details. I can analyze and go into detail about anything that I'm saying. I don't just throw stuff out there. I bring the evidence and I explain my rationale. He cannot, and he's probably twice my age.
It's a huge question. I mean, could you imagine? Think of this for a second. You've lost friends. And could you imagine somebody reporting that one of your friends, his wife, was responsible for their death? What would you want to do to him?
What do you mean? What would you want? I wouldn't want to do shit to him. I'd want to see the evidence and look for the investigation. And until I see the evidence, I wouldn't be able to draw a conclusion either way. That's what a rational man of sane mind and body would think. If somebody came to me and said, Rico, your best friend died. We think maybe his wife has something to do with it. And without me looking at the evidence and being able to prove or say either way, I'm like, fuck no. I want to fight. I want to hurt someone because they're accusing her. And the whole time it turns out she actually has something to do with it. We find out later. How many times has that happened? Now I got egg on my face. I look like an idiot because here I was vouching for someone and I was dead wrong. This man is literally acting. He's putting on a role in front of some guy named Shawn Ryan and basically trying to sideways convince us to burn up the Constitution, get rid of the First Amendment, just because we don't want to offend a suspect. And yes, no one's saying it publicly, but is Erika Kirk a suspect? She's the spouse. They're always a suspect. They're suspect number one because the windfall of downstream of who benefits from this, of course, is going to be the wife. They're always a suspect. The fact that he's not more open-minded or just staying neutral, that tells me that he was sent to do this interview. Remember, everybody else has a gag order, but not him. Imagine he can come do an interview, but he didn't go to Candace. He didn't go to that, who's another, Crowder's a joke, but there's other people he could have went to. Instead, he goes to some guy named Shawn Ryan who won't even push back on him or say anything. People were mad at Tucker because he wasn't tough enough on Nick Fuentes. But I don't hear anyone criticizing Shawn Ryan, who basically was answering his own questions that he had for this security guard. He says, actually, let me jump in and answer that for you. Motherfucker, how are you going to jump in and answer a question for the man, a question that you just asked? So you're going to answer the question that you just asked yourself? But I'm supposed to take this interview seriously. This is supposed to be evidence that people are wrong for questioning everything, especially Erika, especially the motive, especially the fact, especially the circumstances around Tyler Robinson. We're not supposed to do that because we don't want to hurt someone's feelings. Man, fuck your feelings. What does Shapiro always say? Facts don't care about your feelings. This is a constitutional republic, and this man is talking like he lives in a multicultural democracy. Let's see what else he says next.
Yeah. And it's like, man, we're better than this. We should be better than this. And we're not. And people are bitching about the leaders we have. And I was like, hey, we get the leaders we deserve.
How the fuck did that come up? You know who he's talking about. He's talking about Trump. Have you ever met a man that looks like this, that hates Trump? You know what men that look like him that dislike President Trump, they all kind of have something in common, right? You know that multicolored flag that they wear? Sure, they might have a wife and kids, but that's also their flag. You ever seen them at the protests or at the marches or the ones that show up and talk about how much they don't like Trump? And they'll be standing next to their wife, but they got a boyfriend in the background too. This had nothing to do with politics. He's talking, and then he brings up the leaders we have versus the leaders we deserve. What the hell do the leaders have to do with Erika Kirk being his wife and a suspect, naturally, and the fact that we know shit about Tyler Robinson? None of the evidence is clear, and you just don't want us to talk about it or question it because it puts what at risk? And then you take a last-minute shot at Trump? Now do you understand what side we're on? Those six Congress people, they are like him. They're maps. They have that multicolored rainbow flag. That's their flag, not the American flag. Those people and this guy, they're the same profile. They're all a part of the same team. That multicultural democracy. They're not a part of the constitutional republic. And they're with us. They live with us. They live amongst us. They look like us. They speak the same language. They know the terrain. Ideologically, they're on a different page. And we're at war with them, and we are none the wiser. And they're the ones who are out here assassinating people, hunting people down, and literally trying to have our rights removed. They want to censor your speech. They don't even want you to investigate. They don't want you to look into it. Oh, Kansas has turned this to a true crime because I'm asking questions about someone I love dearly getting killed. Now I'm so what if I am? At least I'm talking about it. What's the harm in it? Shouldn't you welcome someone else helping you investigate? Shouldn't you welcome new information? Why would you shun it? This video is going to get seen by a lot of people. There's going to be views. I hope in the short segments that I'm going to clip up, I hope people understand what I'm saying and what's happening. The people that we're at war with they're not all going to walk around with a turban or walk around with a Quran. They're going to look like us. But they're going to see you as something different. These people surrounded Charlie, and he had no idea these people had these secret lives, that they were a part of this other world, this other country that they're trying to start within our country. And by the time Charlie found out, it was too late.
It's a good point. And we don't deserve very much right now. On each side. On each side. Both sides.
No matter where you're watching,
Yeah, I'll be honest. Shawn Ryan's a shitty. This is a shitty interview. He's not good for talking. He's just sitting there. He didn't want to poke the bear. He didn't want to upset anyone. I've seen tougher questions at any Anytime anyone talks about Trump or anything else, they have so many questions. But this guy, there's so many unanswered things, and he didn't want to talk about nothing. He brought up certain key elements that the public's been talking about. He didn't dive in or dissect them or ask any other tough questions. You know what he says? Yep. Then what the fuck was the point of this interview? See, I'll start doing more interviews, and I'll do better than this. I'll do better, because this was extremely uninteresting, and it was just basically a piece to put out there so you can try to set your own historical record about said events, and then people can start to reference out from there. No, we're not playing that game. I counter every point of this interview. This is my second video on this interview, and maybe I'll make more. Fuck you, Shawn Ryan. You should have dug into this guy. Pause. But you should have gotten more information out of him. Who knows when another one of these security people are going to poke their head up from the ground? Nobody knows. Maybe a year from now, they're going to have 800,000 in their account out of the blue, and they're going to disappear. Who knows? But for now, we still have questions. Like and subscribe. Share the video. Right Wing Rico. Remember, America first, America only.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.